owner of Hallman Publishing and American Made VA. Paul, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest.
I am. We have today Patsy Roach, who goes by Pink Lady, and she has a very interesting story for us today. So, welcome, Patsy.
Thank you so
Yes,
much. I'm
yes,
excited to be here.
and I think you probably posted on Facebook to come on, but again, I believe everyone has a story, and your story is quite interesting. So just go with it. Let's go ahead and do this.
Sure. Well, I have a blog, a podcast, and then a TikTok where I educate about online romance scammers. I actually talk to scammers live on my TikTok lives every night. I do them every night. But it started in 2016. I was not looking to date anybody, and I'm still not, but I heard about online dating. And so I signed up with Match.com just to see what was out there. And the first guy that contacted me said he was in the army on a peacekeeping mission somewhere, which is a line I would hear very frequently. And sent his picture. He was very good looking. But the conversation was just weird. It was a lot of kind of like love bombing. And I was just like, ooh. The other thing he was like, which some of them will say is, well, I'm going to retire in 3 months and I'll move anywhere you are. And my first thoughts were, well, I don't want you to move where I live. You won't have any friends. You'll smother me. That's my first thought. So a couple days later, I showed his picture to a girl that I work with, and she goes, "Is he in the army?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "No, he's a scammer." So she explained this whole thing to me, and I was just like, "Wow." So when I came home from work, I Googled his picture, and it came up. It said scammer. So I had sent him an email and said, "I know you're a scammer. I just found all this out. Please don't contact me ever again." I blocked him, and I was a little rattled, and I don't get rattled easily. And so, but it became a regular thing every time, a guy would contact me on Match.com, Our Time. And of course, the big one is Plenty of Fish, which I refer to as Plenty of Fakes. There was a ton on there. And it's the same story. And that's how my blog started in the fall of 2016. It was all these crazy stories, and it's my screenshots that I share on my blog of the actual conversation. And then I during COVID, it like the scamming really picked up. Right now, I'm not really on any dating sites, but Instagram is where they are now. So I have my Pink Lady account, and then I have my alter ego, which is Suzanne Sugarbaker, who I portray when I talk to these fools. And I will play along with them, and
And then you get them on your TikTok live. How big is your TikTok with doing
well,
that?
I have 30,000 followers now, but I usually average about 40 to 50 people in and out throughout the evening because I'm usually on for a couple hours. And it was actually somebody last fall that gave me that idea because I was doing all this on my own, recording it. All my videos are on my YouTube channel of my conversations. But I had joined TikTok 3 years ago, but I didn't do a whole lot on it. And then a year ago, February, excuse me, a year ago, February, um, I saw this one gal posting her screenshots of scammer conversations. And I started to think to myself, well, gosh, I got all these videos. I should start posting them. So I started posting them. And with the right hashtagging, I went from like 1,500 followers to now 30,000 followers. I mean, it blew my mind. But last fall, somebody said, gosh, I wish you could talk to these scammers live when we're on a TikTok live. And I'm like, well, let me figure that out. Well, then I figured it out. I have an iPad that I hardly used. So I use the iPad for my TikTok. And then I use my phone. I have it on a stand so it's next to the iPad so everybody can hear it, got it on speaker. And then, people will make comments. Hey, say this to him. Say it's very interactive. I've even had a couple people come in on the conversation. There's this one guy, Tony, who's incredible educator as well. And he comes and he'll play my Uncle Tony. So like I'll be in the middle of talking to a dude and then I'll be like, oh, hi, Tony just came in. And Tony has a very smooth voice, but it can be very threatening. And it's funny when you listen, you see the change in their tone when Uncle Tony comes into the picture and starts talking to them. And they just like completely change it. They're like, I want to talk to Suzanne. And he's like, no, you can't talk to Suzanne. You're talking to me. It's just become very interactive the last probably 6 months. More people will come in, and anybody's welcome in a box, and you can, and people, like, whenever they say I need a gift card, the first thing my followers do is 500, 1,000, they type in all kinds of stuff, numbers. I do send gift cards, but they're fake gift cards. And they will, when they finally figure it out, there's nothing on it. I go, I know there's nothing on it. I sent it to you on purpose. I was testing you. You flunked, and they get, please send me a gift card. Send me that gift card. And they'll go on for a while. And then I get bank account numbers from these guys, which is even more hilarious. They're like, oh, I need money. And I'm like, oh, sure. Send me your bank account information and I can take care of it now on my computer. And when I get those bank numbers, I have a form letter I send to the bank. And most of them are located in St. Louis, where I live. And I just send them with a screenshot of the information saying, here, this is what happened. You got it now.
Is this something that the government can go after too and prosecute these people?
I would think so.
I think that's your next phase.
Yeah.
In this process. Go ahead.
Well, a couple of years ago, I got in touch with an FBI agent, a girl that I work in the company that I work with. I used to be a secretary in the IT department. And one of the girls in cybersecurity said, with all this stuff, you need to send it to the FBI, and we have an FBI office in town. And so I printed out all this stuff, wrote my letter. A couple weeks later, I got an email from one of the FBI agents. Unfortunately, she's retired. But she had said, she goes, well, first off, it's nice to hear from someone who hasn't sent these guys any money. And she says, by your sending letter to the banks, chances are the banks are going to monitor or close out that account. So, I mean, it's crazy. And the way I do my education is strictly with humor. And when you hear how these guys talk, it's just like, oh my
so
God.
The romantic scammers, is there a prosecution for this? You don't know for sure, because it's going to really have to get them in the hang where you've gotten their bank accounts and to verify that they're not real. That's the hardest part, because any man could say, I need money right now. Can you help me? And you go to send it. They can't go to jail. But if they're scamming, it's like you have to be able to give them a couple bucks, get them to the certain point, and then figure out that they're not a real person. They're not who they say. Then it's considered a crime, right?
Yeah, but that's the hard part. Is there's a great group that I support. It's called Advocating for You. And the two people that started it several years ago, her friend's mother was scammed by a guy pretending to be in the Army. The guy whose picture, she found out who the real guy was. And his name is Brian. And it's been going on, his picture gets used all the time. So they teamed together, started this page, has gone to Washington, D.C. several times to speak about it. They have great stuff on their webpage. I print it out and share it online with everybody. So, I mean, they're trying, but it's hard because they're all in Nigeria, most of them.
Yeah,
and a lot of times
overseas, it's hard to. So then I guess the lawsuits that maybe we need to get together are the Facebooks, the Instagrams of the world, where they punish people who are trying to grow followers and make money online by, not using paid ads, which don't work always unless you spend a lot. And you're trying to build your following, and we ban you, but yet we allow these people that are absolute scammers not to be shut down 2 seconds in. Why is that?
TikTok is really difficult. I have several accounts. My account's been cloned several times. And one of the violations is you're pretending to be me. And I report it. And TikTok comes back and says no violation. But that's one of the violations that you have.
They don't care about it. It's more they don't want the social media platforms don't want you to use organic versus paid. Yeah. At the end of the day, that's all they care about. They don't care about the safety of their participants or anything. Well, it's such an interesting conversation. I'm so glad you have a podcast. Have you been able to take a lot of your TikTok audience to your podcast for download?
Yeah, because every time I do a new podcast episode, I do an advertisement. I mean, I advertise it everywhere on all the social media that I belong to.
Have you been able to monetize with the numbers you have?
No, I'm not in it for the money. And I know people are like, you're nuts. And I'm like, this is, in the beginning, this was a hobby and it's kind of become more of a passion project for me. Because I do everything I can. There's several of us on TikTok who kind of work together sometimes. There's actually 3 other people and me a couple weeks ago. There was this one lady who was posting a video saying how wonderful the Nigerian men are and that it's the women scamming them, which we were all like BS. Well, this one other follower always attacks Jersey John is the one guy that I know. And he goes after Jersey John. Well, then he started tagging me, Chad Huber, and Ivy Princess. He's doing these videos about how we're wanted by the FBI and Walmart. I mean, it's so, what this guy did was just give me and John like way more material to work with.
And that's exact. So when can people tune in live to your TikToks? That's what.
Oh, I do them Sunday through Friday. I'm usually on at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and Saturday at 7 p.m. in case I have dinner plans after church.
All right. Okay. Best place. Do you have a website people can check you out?
Yes, pinkladyagastscammers.com. And then my YouTube channel, because I also stream YouTube at the same time I do TikTok. It's Patsy3919.
Okay. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show. We'll be back. And Fridays with Frank, and we'll be back.